All right, everybody, greetings. I'm Marguerite Rigoglioso of Seven Sisters Mystery School, and I am honored to be here today with Cindy Lindsay Rael, whom I consider one of the most beautiful holy women on our planet today. I consider her one of my teachers, and I really honor her for her integrity and the amazing teachings she's been bringing through for us. Twofold. One, as I see it, is years ago, the original teaching she did from the Karo about the Holy Womb Chakra and what the women of Karo, Peru, were following in terms of using the womb as a means of healing people and the earth and so forth. So she has a whole body of teachings about that. And then in more recent years, she came in contact with Swami Sri Kaleshwar of India, who has now left his body, but he collected palm leaf manuscripts sort of synchronistically. And I may have you talk a little bit more about that story. Sure. That revealed ancient teachings brought to us from the Sapta Rishis, the seven holy men, who in my research, I found out that these seven Sapta Rishis, there is an Indian story that they were married to the seven sisters of the Pleiades. So there's a deep feminine womb mystery here, the seven sisters being the seven mothers of humanity, obviously also using womb mysteries and divine birth to bring forth high holy beings to the planet. So of late, she's done that body of work, and she has a whole course, and that's where I really got more and more connected with Cindy through her Holy Womb Chakra Teachings course that I attended live at the Divine Lineage Center in Laytonville, California, Tuesday, July 2017. And those recordings are now available online. We will talk about all of this later. But I was first introduced to the idea of Cindy and the work of her by Maureen Walton, who's my colleague up in Canada, in Ontario. And for years, Maureen had been talking about you, Cindy, to me.
Good morning.
So, the purpose of our video today is twofold. One is to share some tidbits of the beautiful teachings of Cindy and introduce you to those teachings and tell you how you can connect more with them. And the other is to support Cindy in her journey now. She's been working with breast cancer and doing some remarkable healings on her own in conjunction with Western medicine. And so we are here to bring attention to her work so that those who are feeling called can support her by taking her online classes and supporting her financially that way. So those are our two.
Yes. Thank you.
And for this work today, we call on Mother Divine, and we call on also her manifestation of Blessed Mother Mary. So Cindy, why don't we start, because there may be a part two to this. So I'd like to kind of go back to the beginning, because we're going to have a certain amount of time for this video. There may be a second one where we more elaborate on the Holy Womb Chakra teachings, but let's see how far we get. Why don't we have you go back to what led you to the Karo, the sacred people of Peru who had gone up to the mountains to escape the colonizers hundreds of years ago and really only came out in the 60s, right, to share their wisdom with humanity. What led you on that journey, and how did you get there? And let's start with there.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I believed in anything at that point in time, because I was raised by scientists who didn't believe in anything, though I had spiritual experiences. And so I was looking more for a spiritual experience rather than some sort of religious belief system. And in college, a friend of mine was studying trance channelers in Southern California. And I thought it was big hokum, like I just went, oh, fun, this is interesting, I'll go. I was sitting in the back, sort of being obnoxious in that I was internally thinking, well, she's saying, does anybody have a problem? I think, if you're that great, if I have a problem, I have a problem. you could just come to me. And she, with her eyes closed, whips around the room with her finger, points straight at me. And you have a question?
Oh.
So now it was all up for grabs, Marguerite. Like, oh, okay, there's a whole other world out there. I'm going for it. And at that same conference where this trance channeler was Alberto Velaldo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I got entranced by his stories of his trips and so on. And that started that. But once I was meeting the women, I began to realize there was a power there that wasn't being spoken. It was being held. It was being held exquisitely. It was being worked. It was being used in a way that was less visible in some ways than the guys sitting there doing the despachos and the big ceremony. There was a womb component always holding. And it took a lot to try and, because they didn't have a verbal explanation of what they were doing.
Right.
And it wasn't something that in their broken Spanish and my broken Spanish, because they're originally Quechua speakers, that it could be communicated. Wow. So they just started putting me through processes, to have visions. And I would come back and say, okay, well, this is the vision I had. And they would either like, or, and that was the level of communication that was happening. Okay, she's getting it, or go back to the drawing board kind of looks from whatever visions or experiences I would have.
And how long were you staying down there?
I would just go for a couple of weeks at a time. I would go multiple times a year for a couple of weeks. It was very hard to get there to them. And I was going with groups at first that could get me to them. And then you would have limited time. So I did try to arrange to have more of a chance to meet with them in the Sacred Valley, to have a more concentrated time with the women, because it's not that easy, actually.
Yeah. Where exactly was this that you were meeting them?
Well, I think it's all changed now, but it was a center run by Jose Luis Herrera. And he does amazing work. He's a native of there, but he's also lived in all over the world. So he has, wonderful English speaker and does major classes. Anyway, he's amazing. And it was him who got me the access, really.
Wow. Blessed be.
Yeah.
Can you offer us maybe, because I know that in that course that you have online, whose link we will provide underneath the video, it's like a 10-unit course or something like that.
Yeah.
You take the student through various processes. What is the gist of it? What is the gist of what these women were doing? Because my understanding is you were kind of basically collecting this stuff intuitively and then giving it voice. It wasn't like this was written down, codified.
Yeah.
And they hadn't come together the way that Alberto and Don Oscar and others who from this tradition have come out as, quote, teachers, and they've developed curricula and things like that. Right. This was more of, like you're saying, a quiet thing. So that, I think that is remarkable, that you were consolidating and giving voice, and that it is in that material. Can you give us a flavor, a gist, or an example of some of the things you were learning?
Well, what I could see columns of energy. So when I asked about it, they sent me over to Jose Luis, and Jose Luis said, "Okay, well, there's a luminous structure within. Let me show you what the luminous structure looks like." So that was sort of how this thing ran. And he then taught the luminous structure, and then I saw that. And then as I worked with that, then I could see that there were places, there were pockets of energy. And then I would tell them, "Oh, I see a pocket of energy like behind the navel. Is that what's going on here?" "Yes." You'd get the yes. So there was a very long, interesting, complex thing that had to be compressed into several weeks every year, kind of
right
notion. And who knows how much of that actually was idiosyncratic, in that was the way the divine feminine worked with me.
Right.
And they were happy for that. They were thrilled that she was working with me in that way. But so I don't know that was their knowledge fully.
Right.
What I do know is that as I used it for myself, I did increase that connection to the divine feminine. Mother Mary began coming to me in that period of time. The connection to the divine feminine and various goddess images started in that period of time. So the ability to hear the divine expression in me really moved up in that time period. So that's why I started teaching it for other women, because I thought, okay, I may not have the Caro knowledge, but I got something from them that's critically important, which is why when I found the knowledge of it, the written understanding of it in the Hindu traditions,
Right.
It was manna from heaven. It was like, oh my, it's almost making me teary now. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Everything I tried to figure out is already sitting here.
Yeah.
Plus,
So that's great. Right. So the Hindu tradition that we're going to talk about, the Holy Womb Chakra teachings, as you've come to name it, basically was giving voice to, paralleling, or expressing some of the things that you were intuiting or receiving directly from the Caro.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was an even greater expansion of it. And I want to stop and point out about the luminous structure, because in my videos I've done with Maureen, we have talked about the luminous structure, which is basically a series of, as I know it's more than triangles, but it's a series of triangular energies within the body, triangles that are set up that almost remind one a little bit of the Sri Yantra.
Yeah. I mean, they have interlocking up and down triangles. Yeah,
Interlocking up and down
exactly.
triangles, right? And I've been getting a lot of information about those triangles as regards Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, and I'm going to be writing about that in my book on Mother Mary coming up. It was really quite extraordinary in a ceremony I did with Maureen and Tara Green that was coming through. So those are more like the Platonic solid versions of what's going on in the body. And then we have the image of the Holy Womb Chakra yantra, Kaleshwar found in the manuscripts, which is much more flowing and not symmetrical quite,
right,
and feminine looking. And so those two together, it's almost like makes some kind of complete protein in my mind, the Holy Womb Chakra. So let's talk a little bit about, in the Caro tradition that you were experiencing, where did the womb sit with this? What were you learning about the womb? What was it teaching you about your own womb?
It is in that behind the navel area for them. And it is associated with the physical womb for them. It has much more association with the physical womb. While in the Hindu tradition, both men and women have a womb chakra. Only women have it physically, obviously, but each has a connection to that essence of that energy. But they really saw it primarily as, the men use the Cusco, which is the center, for digesting negative energies and doing a number of various processes and so on. And the women use the Cusco too, but they're using this power that they consider to be behind that.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, I'm aware of, and I've learned and taught that that breath where you bring in the negative energy, well, it's actually into your second chakra, and then you like transform it. The Huchimikwe.
Yeah, right. They're using the Cusco, which is basically the whole belly area.
Yeah, the whole belly
area. Yeah.
Okay.
And forgive me if Jose Luis or somebody hears this, I may not be speaking this exact. It's been so many years since I did the Caro, but it's been 18 years or 15 years or something. So hopefully I'm talking true. That. Yeah.
I think probably enough to get people. So what was a surprising teaching from the Caro that you learned about your own womb? How did you translate this into your life?
I had one experience on ayahuasca. They sent me to have, they suggested I go have this ayahuasca experience. So I had to wait months to do it, but then finally went to have this experience. And in the experience, I shot up out of myself into the wherever, I'm not even sure where I went. But in a flash, I knew everything. I could see everything. I was at one with everything. And it was very clear to me that it was a womb. That space.
All right, you heard it here. Marguerite has been harping on this topic forever. She's publicly said that the whole universe is the uterus. She has a clear now, Cynthia's verifying. All right?
Completely unrehearsed.
Okay, so, right?
So, right, it was a big, giant womb I was in, and that was a space where everything was one and where I could be one with everything. And that was a place where I knew everything. And I didn't want to leave that womb, but of course I had to be birthed back into me, again. But that, in the midst of all of everything else I was trying to experience with these women and trying to know from that experience said to me, okay, this is it. This thing you're looking for, this is the ultimate enlightenment. This is the place of the ultimate source of power. This is the mother you've been searching for and crying for like a child. This is it. And it's in you. And you have an auto connect point.
Right, because you're a hologram of it, right?
You are it. She is in every particle of every cell of everything in the universe, including every aspect of our bodies. As we breathe, she is breathing us.
I'd like us to just pause and just take that in and have viewers and listeners take that in, because that is so profound. That's it. We've heard it here. The mesh of everything. All material world and all other dimensional worlds are mother. They are the Holy Womb Chakra. We are enmeshed in it. We are it, and our wombs as women who were born with wombs replicates something critical about that structure, and men as well, through their not a bindu point, the floating point 1.5 inches below the navel, also have access to that Holy Womb Chakra.
Exactly.
And so it's a mark and a point and an area within our body. And like you're saying, it's holographic within everything that we are, really. It's within us and we are it.
Mm-hmm. And although let's not put it to a point in the body. Let's allow it to be an energetic of soul.
Oh.
That happens to be constellated by a chakra, by a womb chakra, by a point of energy. But the point of energy is that not a bindu point, basically. I mean, at some level. But if we keep thinking of chakras as little points in our bodies, we're missing it.
Yeah.
We need to think of it as a flowing energetic, flowering energetic, which ultimately can encompass the entire body at some level, because it's really radiating a pure soul energetic that's guiding us in our lives. So
this is so, I mean, I don't know about anybody else listening, but I'm kind of, woo, I'm really opening up here, hearing this. I mean, it verifies, validates, and expands on, and, things that I've been working with for a long time. And I think things that probably a lot of people who are going to be listening to this have been working on or intuiting or just needing that final click of permission.
Right. And the womb chakra is such a hugely powerful aspect of our own bodies, but also of our own metaphysical system, that if we can purify that womb chakra, if we are purifying karmas as we do that, we are purifying old negative relationships as we do that, we're purifying heartbreaks as we do that, we're purifying our ability to enter relationship from pure love by doing that. There's so many, you can have physical healing. There's so many things that can be done from the purification of that energy. Just on a physical level, it helps with your physical being as well. But at the metaphysical level, as that purifies, as those layers of karma come off, as those layers of darkness that have, of depression or of heartbreak or whatever that have kept us, our light held down, as those come off, you can feel yourself just brightening inside and beginning to radiate the power that is truly you. She is breathing you. She is in every cell of you. And when you awaken the womb chakra, it awakens every cell of you ultimately to the knowledge of her, to the knowledge that she is you and you are her. And it has always been that way. We just were covered with layers of illusion.
Yeah. And this is open to people of all genders, really.
Absolutely.
Because everybody has the Nada Bindu point. And so in a way, you know, it's interesting because when I sat in your class, and I know I asked a lot of questions because
you had some great questions.
Because a lot of people who are transitioning and transgender or don't identify with binaries, you know, I wanted to kind of check out, gosh, you know, what's happening, what happens for them in this work. And now 2 years later, like I'm just with what you have just said, I'm understanding this in such a deeper way that this is really truly open to everyone.
It's
like reality simply from that womb valence, you know, versus reality from a phallic valence or a male god valence, which there are realities that people are in around that. And, you know, one of the things I've learned is that it really is it can become a choice as to what reality you want to be in. And the minute you make the choice to be in a new reality, you literally are in that. So it's not about there's only one reality and we are going to argue about which reality is right. It's more like if people want to be in a phallocentric reality, they can be. You know, they can deal with whatever's going to come with that, what they're going to learn, what kind of karma is going to be created, etc. People who are neutral about the whole thing, they're going to learn what they need to learn. People who are in or want to come into the belief system or the exploration of the Holy Womb Chakra enter into a whole other manifold universe of things that are going to spin out in your life, you know, realities. So in a way we're, you know, I am just saying, hey, check it out, you know, like we don't have to get into theological fights, you know, about
we don't.
Is the universe a womb or isn't it? Okay, right now, for Cindy and me and a bunch of other people, we're in the womb, right?
We're in the womb, but I do press through to union energy. That is the point. This womb connects us back to that place where everything is one. Where there isn't a masculine or feminine. And that is the womb of the mother. You know, we call it the womb of the mother, but it's
interesting. Right.
It's going back to the place where things are one. There's no masculine, there's no feminine. There's no light, no dark, no bad, no, you know, right, no wrong. It just is.
So it's this paradoxical both and, right?
Yes. I mean, we start with the divine feminine. Absolutely.
Because you start with the divine feminine, you come into unity.
Because nothing is born without the divine feminine. Everything has to come to the earth. Even a high divine master has to be born through the womb, you know, into the earth. So everything, we start with the divine feminine and we energize, we clear away and energize that womb chakra and pull up that divine feminine energy in everybody, not just in women, but we're also trying to create a link to that for the masculine with that, not a
Absolutely.
And then we're ripe for finding a union, and then we can use those masculine aspects of God, like the lingam, for example, which is the lingam is highly worshipped in the Hindu tradition, and obviously oftentimes it's the lingam inside a yoni, so that we're really talking about the union energy.
Yes,
there.
Absolutely. So, and I want to point out that what you've been talking about for the last 10 minutes or so, once you started talking about the Holy Womb Chakra and how working with it can heal, these now are this secret or sacred palm leaf
Yes.
manuscript teachings that Swami Sri Kaleshwar passed through, passed on to us and passed on to you as one of his primary teachers and holders of this, I would say.
And there are many others too. I need to say, you know, there are local teachers for people. I'm not the only one that they could possibly go to, but I would very much appreciate coming to my class, of course.
Yeah, especially we're trying to help Cindy right now. She's in need, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Cindy, I just find it, my cells start tingling when I'm with you. The oracle cells start tingling, and I'm like, wow, the rest of my day is going to be great because you've connected me up again. You've opened me up again with this reality that is so beautiful and so healing. This healing to return to the universal mother who holds it all. It is the yin yang, but the yin yang itself is more like a fun thing, right? The whole structure of it is kind of right. So within it, it's got
and
the
even that
unity
is
of
trying to show duality when there isn't. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, it's trying to give us some impression of what it might be in wholeness, and that is really the issue. Is how to find our way back to that sensation so that we know it. But you know what? An amazing yogic practice is to sit in meditation, feel a feeling and know it well, like you know what it feels like to be sitting in water, for example. But then try the metaphysical version of that. Try to see yourself walking on water. That's not a sensation you've ever felt. And yet, if you can move to that place of knowing that as a sensation in you, you start to awaken that wholeness that is her. You start to awaken that connection to the place where everything is possible.
Now we're going to create an entire group of water walkers.
Water walkers.
All right.
We have to, yeah.
Jason Saint is obviously the big JC, all right?
Yeah.
Because he did it. You know, he showed us how you can do it. You could go from thinking about being in water to being on top of water. Wow, that is a really huge, I mean, I'm blown away just
It's
constantly.
about shifting that consciousness. You know that.
It's like, okay. So that little grasp of the Christed Master doing that, it's like, wow, that was a tantric practice that he learned.
Exactly. And you can get yourself to the place of opening up to that energetic, which is what we're wanting with connecting to the Divine Mother and to that oneness, by starting with the place that I love the Shakti Patanjali teachings, and some others are amazing on meditation, but you start with that place of the known and then flip it to the unknown. And all of a sudden, and you will feel this shift in you. And it creates a shift in consciousness that allows for the possibilities beyond the probabilities.
So I'm inviting everybody watching this to just put the video on pause and try that. Go from being in water, because we don't have time to leave.
Yeah, we don't have time to do it, but yeah.
To go from being in water to suddenly walking on water and shift the sensationality of it and see what happens, how that shifts your whole being. So these Holy Womb chakra teachings came through palm leaf manuscripts. Can you just tell us briefly about that, and also how you met Swami?
I met Swami's first in India because I was told by a friend of mine that I would meet a man who could manifest fire in his hands. And when I went online and then another friend said, go check out this guy, this Sri Kaleshwar guy. And in the picture, he was manifesting fire in his hand. So I thought, oh, okay, now I have to go to India. All right, here we go. And it was strange. It was beyond anything I had ever experienced. It was just I've been to so many workshops in so many countries and things, and this was different. I can't even explain. The fellow who met the car had huge light coming out of his eyes, and I thought, oh my goodness, if he got that here, I want it, you know. But the story of the palm leaf books is amazing. It's like an Indiana Jones kind of thing, only from the deeply metaphysical in that, because Sri Kaleshwar, this was his destiny to find these things and to bring this information forward. he found himself in strange places, and some saint taking him down the lane to dig up a book. I mean, it was these just intense journeys to go discover and find and take out of the caves and dig them out of the ground from where they had been held in safety and secret.
These are like the Nag Hammadi texts of India, essentially.
Yes, basically. And their palm leaves are like this big. They're little squares, and they put them in a dual leaf, so they're hooked together like this, so that then you open them up and you see a full picture of a yantra on the two leaves or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're very powerful. I've had the chance several times to just lay my hands on these palm leaf books, and my gosh, you can go zip right out the top of your head just laying your hand on one of these palm leaf books. And then he had students who learned the various languages that are in there, like there are several different languages, and they switch back and forth as a kind of masking of some of the secret information. It's just so amazing.
Wow.
And he had some of the students learning those languages and poring over it, and then he would come and tell them help them understand it. And it was years and years of work of some really dedicated students in Sri Kaleshwar to try and pull out the primary pieces out of these palm leaf books for people to be able to use in this time when it's necessary.
And it is in these teachings that you offer in your online class, the link of which we will have under this video, the Holy Womb Chakra teachings through the Divine Lineage Center, have been conveying, having received them in teachings from Swami himself. Okay, now he's left his body fairly early at age 36, but here we have this material, and it is extraordinary. We will pause the discussion here. I mean, these are like tantalizing tidbits that will hopefully encourage people to go to your classes. You also have other classes whose links we're going to provide as well. Is there one about menopause?
And all of those are based in this same understanding that I have in modern times, which is the Hindu Vedic tradition. And there's one on sacred menopause, and one on sacred pregnancy. There's one on the 5 elements, which is a basic practice in this tradition for gaining the healing powers and for self-healing. And then I have one on an introduction to healing.
Great. Plus the Holy Womb Chakra teachings, which is on
a different site,
on a different site, and the Karo.
And the Karo teachings on another site, and I'll send you all the little links. And there is a 1 hour, done when I still had dark hair, video of explaining basic intro to the womb chakra. So I will send you that link as well.
Great, because people will love this. So we encourage people to support Cindy by going to her courses, buying them, taking them. They're all available in recording. Let's just close briefly with this journey you've been having with what we're calling cancer in your breast.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only imagine that it was a shock for you, having done all of this sacred work in life and going, wow, what the heck?
And cancer still happens, apparently.
It still can happen to holy people. So tell us how you've been working with that, and a little bit of the healing that you've been doing in conjunction with the Western medicine. First, how did you cope with this?
Well, at the very first, I didn't realize there was anything wrong with me, and I wouldn't have for a very long time. I felt tired. Okay, maybe I need a vacation. You know what I mean? I didn't do it. So I had a dream, and the dream said, check your left breast. It woke me up immediately. I just laid my hand over onto my left breast, and there was a big lump. Oh. It didn't even require me searching. It was like, oh. And then that started the process. But because it was started that way, Marguerite, because the divine woke me up to it. And I knew, number one, they were holding me. They weren't letting this go too far where I'd have to be metastatic or I'd have to have years of problems, or, they were making this so I could do it. So they were clearly trying to save me. Yeah. That was a huge comfort, obviously. And the other thing that was a huge comfort is to know that I was awakened to do it. To
Yeah.
me, that's created a lot of meaning for me, that this is an awakening for me, and that I need to find in it what still needs to awaken in me to go the next stage for her, you know, for the Divine Mother. And I really do believe that's what's happening, that I'm purifying at this next level. It's a total deconstruction to go through the shrinking of a tumor, which is what I've been going through for the last 2.5 months.
You've been
Is
at Divine Lineage.
doing herbal and alternative and spiritual ceremony and all sorts of things to shrink the tumor in the breast, which is working. It's less than a third of its size from what I can feel. But a huge component of that for me is really saying, Mother, just deconstruct me from everything that keeps me from you. Just take it down. Let's do it. You know, there's not a point in living if I'm not her, you know, bringing her energy through me and through the world. It's who I am. So do it. You know, I'm like, say, take it, deconstruct that tumor, but deconstruct everything else while we got deconstruction mode going. And I go in deep for the old unworthiness and everything. And it's been an amazing, beautiful process with all sorts of beautiful signs along the way that she's with me and she's excited about this process. So
Wow.
to me, it's not been fighting cancer. It's been deconstructing what stands in between me and the mother. Yeah.
That is a beautiful place for us to conclude. And people might want to write that quote down who are going through a similar journey and, you know, put it visibly to as a support, because I feel that one of the reasons you're going through this is for people to have that kind of an understanding when this crops up in their lives. So,
and I do have an audio blog where I've been talking about the cancer. So I'll also send you that link.
Let's all get all those links. And again, we'll put them under the video wherever this is going to be shown. Is there a way that people can email you directly?
Absolutely. Okay. Cindy at divinelineage.org.
Okay, so CINDY at Divine Lineage,
LINEAGE.org.
Okay, good. This is wonderful. So thank you.
Oh, Marguerite, it's always such a joy, my darling.
It really is a joy. I truly honor you. I respect you and I thank you. And I wish you many, many healing blessings and just all the best with this journey. And I know that we will be in touch as we go along.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Sisters, namaste.
Buddy, namaste.